Perception is strong and sight weak. In strategy, it is important to see distant things as if they were close and to take a distanced view of close things. Miyamoto Musashi. I love that quote for what we do. It is so insightful. It's important to see distant things as if they were close and to take a distanced view of close things. That is to make sure that you see the forest and the trees, not just one, but both. That's what helps in using the weekly chart along with the intermediate chart, that is the 2-day, and the short chart, the half-day, 195 minutes. That is why we do what we do, how we do it, how we look at the tactical and the strategic. Now, everything is up for the day. Let's jump into these charts. It's pretty exciting as to how this week ended up. We look at the S&P 500 up 0.31% for the day. Lots of volume last week as we saw things hit a high, and then we saw things sort of bleeding off. In fact, well, let's talk first about $599.64 for the week ending the 4th of November, $617 for the week ending that's starting the 4th of November and starting the 11th of November. We always go with the Mondays. Now look at this week, $569.15, so it is lower. It's a green spinning top. Thought it might end with a red spinning top with things rolling over. Didn't have a volume almost up to average, but not quite. And we saw where things had tracked up with the Trump effect after the election and then sliding sideways starting on Monday afternoon back on the 11th, then down strong last Friday, sliding sideways at the beginning of the week, and the last 2 days moving up. So is this market, again, seesawing back and forth a little bit, but you notice it hasn't violated the weekly trend line. It didn't on the half day, didn't on the 2-day, and hasn't on the weekly. So we will look, wait, watch, and see as things may very well just continue to digest those gains and proceed upward again. Now, the NASDAQ 100, where did it go? Same thing. It's close on the 2-day chart, sitting right there above the weekly trend line. Not as much conviction as the S&P. It's really pretty much a doji, about the same when it comes to volume. Didn't have the exuberant volume on the NASDAQ 100 as we did on the S&P last week. But again, looks like as things popped up, sort of cooled down, but slowly but surely trying to move back up again. So we haven't had a rotation over going down. We may be just sliding on into Christmas as the market just continues to tick up. Maybe we'll have a Santa Claus rally. We shall see. What about 20-year U.S. government bonds? About flat for the day, 0.06%. We are paying close attention. We did have a lower low this week. Didn't have a lot of volume, so we will just continue to watch and see if indeed 20-year U.S. government bonds are just going to keep on going down. We're ready to pull this trade if and when the charts tell us to do that. We've done very well in it. And of course, when those of you who are new are saying, how can you do well when your underlying ETF is going down? Well, we add a little bit of, I wouldn't really call it sophistication, but knowledge to this. When we're looking at 20-year U.S. government bonds and they're going down, we look to TBF. That is the single short. And of course, it's been going up this whole time period. So that's what we were trading. I don't make it complicated in switch charts. I just stay on the big chart on the underlying ETF. And then, of course, with the NASDAQ, we look to PSQ, that's the single short of one of the single shorts of the NASDAQ, on the S&P 500 SH. And again, we just encourage you to practice trade these things so that when you see markets going down in bonds, in stocks, that you've got a little bit of choice in something else you might want to do. Of course, you can just write it up, sell, let the market move down, buy back in. But again, we like to have choices. So that's what we're up to with 20-year U.S. government bonds. What about gold? Well, we talked about gold retracing where it moved down. It did today. Popped up in the morning, further up in the afternoons, taken all that out, blown through back on Wednesday of this week. In the morning, pushed through the weekly trend line. See that on the 2-day, lots of volume. Well, I'm sorry, average volume on the 2-day for that November 21, 22, first day of the latest 2-day candle moving up. Ended the week with a doji. And again, we may very well see gold rolling around this week. Did not have, we didn't have a green spinning top as we like. Now, you might say, hey, should we be going long? Well, of course, that is a potential consideration, particularly after gold has been moving up so strong. But it's only been just a short period of time going down. Could this continue? Yes, it could. Could you go long in gold? Absolutely, you could do that. If we focus in on gold, you can see that we really just have a doji here. It is so much extreme indecision. It is very, very hard to make a call. I would be hesitant to jump into a long position on gold with just a doji right there. Of course, what do we prefer? We prefer several weeks of down movement, and then nice high volume with the interim low, and then a good solid green spinning top with not too much movement up or down, that is not super long wicks, and a nice clean turnaround. Can gold be turning around? It sure can. We'll look, wait, watch, and see as we get into this next week. Now, what about Bitcoin? Man, it is up again, 1.14%. Look at 24-hour-a-day Bitcoin. You can see just how high Bitcoin has gone, $99,800. And again, when we look at the Trump effect on this thing, you can see it here on the Bitcoin ETF. You can see where the day after the election, Bitcoin somewhere in the $78.42 opening to a high as we closed the week of $112.99. That is just incredible, and it just keeps on keeping on. Well above the weekly trend line on the half day, on the 2-day, and of course on the weekly itself as Bitcoin just continues to spike. Look at all that volume going all the way back, average volume, all the way back to the spinning top on the week beginning September. Well, I'd say no, right here on the doji on the week beginning the 7th of October, and then switching over to average volume green candles and just continuing to power up. Folks, thanks so much for being with us. Appreciate all of you who are with us all week. We'll continue to watch these markets as they just never cease to amaze. I hope you're doing your practice trades, following these charts, and having a good time learning. God bless, my friends. All the best from the whole team at Charting Wealth World Headquarters.